Is anyone else genuinely so confused that it's a new year? Like, I literally feel like I just woke up in 2021, found a spot in Austin, got out of LA, made the dopest friends I've ever had. It's just like, how did this year fly by? Okay, that was a 2022 test. I'm seeing if you guys like the intro music after I say something or at the beginning. But hello, welcome back to a new episode of The New Unfiltered. If you are not familiar with me, I am a blogger and entrepreneur. I'm 24. I had a show on Radio Disney. And actually this week, the new show that I filmed with Localish and Coco and Breezy called Fearless, I pitched and got the show on my own, is coming out January 6th. Super hyped about this and really excited to hear what anyone who follows me or even Coco and Breezy thinks about the show and the clip. So make sure to watch that this week. But before I get into this episode, follow The New Unfiltered on social media at The New Unfiltered, as well as my personal social media at Alexa_Curtis. And if there is ever any confusion, I had a podcast for a while called This Is Life Unfiltered that I think really honestly catapulted my career. And all of those episodes, I think 132 of them are still up. But then The New Unfiltered was a new venture that I started with my friend Alex. Her and I ended up dissolving, doing that together to try and kind of maintain our friendship and not work together. And so I decided to continue to pursue The New Unfiltered in a little bit of a more unfiltered, candid style than I did with with This Is Life Unfiltered. But that being said, if you ever just need extra inspiration, all of those episodes are still up, and I urge you to take a look at them if you ever need some inspiration. Because it's a new year, I figured I could introduce you to a new guest, or I could just give you a solo episode on thoughts that I have had in the past few weeks, things that are really standing out to me in my personal life that I want you guys to remember as you get older. I know many of you are in your mid to late 20s and on this journey with me to being fearless. I was filming a podcast actually a few weeks ago in Boston with a friend of mine who just started a podcast, and I actually started crying during the episode because she was telling me about how my whole concept behind Fearless Fridays inspired her to try a new coffee shop. And at this coffee shop on that Friday, she met someone that ended up being a really incredible relationship that she is kind of pursuing in her personal life. And just that moment reminded me how important it is to be fearless, how important it is to get out of your comfort zone. And I think a lot of people overlook that because it's so easy to be comfortable. Now, if you followed me from the beginning, you know that I thrive on being uncomfortable. I frequently put myself in situations where I don't really care what the outcome is. I'm doing it for me. And I don't think it's selfish to say that, but I'm always really intrigued by rejection. I'm always really intrigued by having a conversation with someone, even I might go into it knowing that we're going to have totally different opinions. I'm just curious about what other people think and human relationships. So while I was in Boston actually last week filming that podcast episode, I flew home on Monday. I took a 7 p.m. flight because I wanted to go home for the holidays. What ended up happening is I get to Boston. During the day, they literally were out of COVID tests. I could not find one. My dad has diabetes. My mom is 70. I am not boosted right now because I had COVID in July, so I made the decision not to get the booster shot until after the 6 months because I spoke to a lot of people who said, don't get it right now until you hit that 6-month mark, which for me is in February. So I'm in Boston. I am freezing cold. It's like so cold there. I can't find a COVID test. And I literally had this TV segment on Wednesday. It bombed. And I just was like, screw this. I called my parents and was like, love you guys, but I gotta go. I gotta get back to Austin. I feel so at home in Austin. I love it here. So I flew there for literally no reason. Basically, but you know, whatever, life is life. Anywho, so I'm in Boston, and what ended up transpiring is I had gone to Boston, booked a hotel room, gotten a media rate, to have a bunch of packages sent there for this TV segment. And then during the week before that, I was like, I feel like I maybe could try and get a free hotel. I lived in Boston for a while. A lot of my followers are East Coast based. So I called this hotel called the Liberty Hotel that I've always wanted to stay at. End up getting in touch with the marketing director, was like, look, would love to come to the hotel, do a fun feature. We'll stay for 1 or 2 nights. If you can comp it, maybe media rate, like let me know what you guys can do. I know you're busy. So anyhow, she ends up giving me the free room, asked me to post about New Year's Eve. So I get to the hotel, and then the next day I did put up my first post. It's kind of weird because a lot of times if there's money involved, there'll be a contract. If there's no money involved, there won't be any contract. So you'll just get a free stay or a free item, whatever. You can post whatever you want about it. Now, I never really post anything bad. If I get something for free, I will either not post it or post whatever element of it I like, but I am not someone who's out there to ever bring down a business or a small company, whatnot. I don't find it necessary to post about something I don't like. I honestly will either just not post about it, like I said, or I'll post about whatever I like about it. So anyway, so I started posting about how I got this room, that I called the marketing director, that I told her on the phone what I was willing to offer. And that is what I do on my day-to-day. And I think if you follow me, you should be following me. You probably are for that reason, is because I'm not one of these bullshit influencers who's just out parading about my life and all my free stuff and just like having a blast. I mean, as I say all the time, this is incredibly difficult to pursue every day. There is so much rejection. There is so much self-sacrifice. There's so much self-doubt behind being an entrepreneur, behind trying to build something. And so if I can bring anything to the table, it's just this honest and authentic way of going about my endeavors. So I get a bunch of phone calls, a bunch of emails. I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. I don't know why. And she was like, please stop posting. You're saying stuff that we have no idea why you're saying, And I was like so intrigued because, I reply and I'm like, I'm not really sure where this is coming from. If you had done your due diligence on me, you would probably know that I do go about things in a probably way more authentic way than just showing up to your hotel and posting a photo. I think part of this journey is being fearless in the pursuit to ask for things and go after what you want, but also using what I have learned along the way to do it. You don't just call someone and you're like, yo, what's up? Can I get a free hotel room? Like, you really have to call someone or write the email or write the pitch and be specific with what you want and what they're going to get back in return. So she ends up just letting me stay at the hotel for free. She asked me to stop posting, doesn't want me to post anything. I'm convinced like something must have happened behind the scenes. I don't know what happened. But anywho, I realized through this experience, and it wasn't a bad experience, it was just weird to be told almost don't be yourself. Like, don't post what you're posting about how you got this because we don't want people to know we gave out a free room. It really got me thinking a lot about how I have trained myself to stop caring what other people think. And I struggled with this for such a long time because, as all young people do, it's really hard with social media to not care what people think. It's really hard with high school, even middle school, going into college. You have new friends, you are meeting new people, you're trying to fit in. It is not a bad thing to try and fit in. But what I have realized, it isn't a bad thing to fit in with people who don't understand you. Moving to Austin for me has truly shifted my mindset to realize that I can have it all. I always talk about how being in LA for so long, I think I was there like 3 or 4 years, having this dream apartment, I had the show on Radio Disney, but I, behind the scenes, felt very miserable. I felt like if this is what this success is going to be, if this is what this end goal as I continue to get more successful is going to be, I don't have that many close friends in LA. I really don't like it here, and it left me feeling very alone and confused with why was I so passionate about this element of success, but also being happy and also having fun, yet I was only getting one part of this equation. And so moving to Austin has really allowed me to realize that I think you really can have it all, but you also have to be willing to go about it in a way that is a little bit ruthless. If you follow stories from a lot of these big founders, I mean, someone like the guy who founded WeWork or even a Sheryl Sandberg, you kind of start to realize that there is a very similar pattern with founders, and I think the only way to say it is they are ruthless. They don't care what people think. And the issue is because when you care what people think, you start to realize that they're impacting your decisions so heavily. I have realized the more people that I tell what is going on in this part of my life to, the more that I feel influenced and anxious by their own opinions. And I would like to see everyone get to a point where they can pursue their own endeavors and ask the right people and ask the right questions. But also sometimes you don't have to tell everyone your life. You don't have to tell your friends all the time what's going on or feel ashamed about what you're doing, because there is no shame in any part of life. Whatever it is that you're pursuing or whatever it is that you're doing, unless you're doing something that's really naughty, like if you're in a committed relationship and you're hanging out with another girl, please don't, if we're friends and you ever do that, please don't tell me that, or vice versa, girl, boy, whatever. I don't want to know that. I'm not going to back you up on that. But what I will back any of my friends up on, and what I would hope that everyone backs me up on career-wise and personal-wise, is being mature enough to know that I'm making the right decisions for myself in that moment. And a lot of that comes down to mindset. And that really goes into why I don't make New Year's resolutions, and why I think maybe you shouldn't either, is because you shouldn't have to have a new year to either start something new or stop doing something that makes you unhappy. And if you are doing something where you are having many moments where you're feeling unhappy and when you're feeling really anxious about it, then going and trying to tell a million different people and get their feedback, you should know yourself enough to know what makes you happy, what triggers you, what makes you uncomfortable. And if you don't know those triggers, what makes you unhappy, what makes you uncomfortable, then what you need to do is you need to go and experience more. And at this point in my life, I have experienced a lot. I mean, I am not in my 30s, like I haven't experienced marriage or kids or any of those things, but I have experienced a plethora of relationships among the past 10 years that have influenced me heavily to get to a point now where I say no a lot more, and I also just don't really care what you think about me. Sometimes you might go out with someone a few times and you don't want to hurt their feelings. This is something I find really prevalent along my girlfriends or even just friends in general, is that they feel bad telling someone that they don't feel comfortable or that they don't want to see this person anymore. And it's really unfortunate because it's your life. It is your decision. And if you are putting yourself actively in a relationship or a situationship or a situation that you know makes you feel uncomfortable, but you are too scared of either letting someone down or hurting someone, you will never reach that next level of finding yourself because you are still so consumed by the fact that someone is going to be affected by what you say to them. And that doesn't mean that you have to be ruthless in the sense that you shouldn't care about what people think or that you may hurt their feelings. But as long as it is done in the right way, and as long as you have a discussion with someone and try and come to terms in some capacity with this isn't benefiting you and you know why, there's ways to do that, like pros and cons lists. I have a journal that I actually have been obsessed with by this company called Silk & Sonder. If you don't have product from Silk & Sonder, this isn't an ad, obviously, but I have found that this actually probably is the most beneficial product I've been sent all year. And it's kind of just this mindset. It's just a journal mixed with certain activities and things to do. And I try and write down in it every single day, either you are worthy or you are happy or even this pissed you off and here's why. Sometimes with my therapist, I don't go to therapy anymore, but over the past year, I went to a lot of therapy. And she had even said to me, you seem very in tune with your feelings. And the reason is because when I feel something, I try and overanalyze it to the extent to where I try and understand why I feel the way that I feel. And I know that the reason that I do that is because I am just so motivated at this point to be the most active, happy, engaging version of myself in every facet of my life, work-wise, relationship-wise, and I don't think you can do that until you get to a point where you are so comfortable walking away from something or saying no because of the fact that you know it's hurting you in a way that isn't benefiting you. And how do you do that? You learn. You read books. You ask someone something. If someone decides to end a relationship with you, you ask them why. And if they don't give you your answer, then you realize it has nothing to do with you. And it usually doesn't have anything to do with you. For the most part, it always has something to do with the other person, friendship-wise or relationship-wise. But it's not bad to ask those questions so that you can understand that it not only isn't about you, but also that this person is walking away from you because they actually are wanting to allow you to either be friends with someone or get in a relationship with someone who is better than what they can offer you right now. And I have also done that. And I've talked about that a lot of times with past relationships of mine. Someone even I did my podcast with a while ago is making a conscious decision to say, this relationship is not benefiting me. And I just don't give a shit what you think. If that affects you, if it doesn't or not, because it's my life and you only get this one life. And when you realize that someone isn't benefiting you in the way that you need, you have to walk away. And it's taken me 24 years to get to that part where I have made my best friends in Austin. Like, this is going to sound so silly, but like, we literally have a group chat, all of my best girlfriends here, and we talk all day and we send like outfit pics to each other and like all this shit. And like, I have never experienced this in my life. Reminding yourself that if you listen to me, I didn't go to college. I didn't have a traditional upbringing. So a lot of those relationships that people probably had and nurtured in their 20s, I was in my teens hanging out with people in their 30s with kids. So I never really had this kind of opportunity to find myself, but also already be a little bit successful by doing it. But looking back, what I wished I had done is said no to people who didn't bring as much value to my life because I was scared of being alone, or because I was so scared of hurting them or getting their reaction and therefore letting that affect me too much. Let's walk it back a second. 2 main takeaways at this point in the episode. Stop telling everyone everything you're going through. You do not need to tell all of your girlfriends what you are doing all of the time, or your boyfriends. You do not need to be afraid of their response, and you need to give yourself a little bit more slack to have fun. This hustle culture and this mentality is something that I've talked about on my podcast for years, since even This Is Life Unfiltered, is there is the expectation that if you are not successful by this age, or if you do not have this much money, or if you are confused about what you want to do, that you're not doing good enough and you should be working more and work harder and be richer and all this stuff. And it's just this cycle of, and it goes a lot into the New Year's resolutions of like, have strong goals, but be aware and allow yourself to have fun along the process of making those goals and hitting them, and that it will change and the direction will change, and that's totally okay. I am stopping for the most part probably hosting these summits unless I get some big offer next year, something I didn't expect to do at all because my gut is telling me to pursue an app, and as intimidated and scared of it I am. I was actually talking to my ex-boyfriend about this, and he was a successful entrepreneur, is a successful entrepreneur. I don't know how to call it. I always said I would never date an entrepreneur. Here we go. This is probably why. But I was talking to him about my fear of being a failure with this pursuit, and he kept using the word pivot. And that stood out to me a lot because I didn't realize that everything that I really have done, it is all about the pivot. And though I've used that word, I never really looked over my whole story and my whole journey to this point and realized that every time something has gone wrong, every time I have been rejected, I have just pivoted. And if you can just remind yourself in those moments of weakness or where you feel like you're not doing good enough, just pivot. Literally just be like, okay, this isn't working, or I didn't make a lot of money off of that. I'm going to try and do something else in the same realm and see if this works. And you just keep trying because at one point it will work. The only time it's not working is when you're giving up. And giving up is not failure. It's just giving up. Failure is when you literally have exhausted every single option, and most people don't ever exhaust every option. They just give up. But failure is truly when you have exhausted absolutely every single option. Cough, cough, there are unlimited options out there, so you are still not even going to be able to exhaust every single option. But that being said, is when you're sitting on the ground and you're like, there is nothing left to this, I need to try something new. And that's still not failure. That's still just pivot. But I think you want to get to that point where you can be comfortable with constantly changing direction. And the second half of that is letting yourself have some fun. And I've realized that, I don't know actually what shifted in my mindset, but I realized that I have not really lived my 20s to the fullest because I am just too focused on work and career and too scared of the impacts of, for example, what a late night will do to my work the next day. Will I not work? Will I have a headache? And sure, it is not good for me necessarily to go out on weeknights and drink a lot or whatever it is, because I won't work as well the next day. But the times where I have done that, and I've been testing this theory out a little bit more because I've just been trying to get myself comfortable with being uncomfortable, doing things out of my comfort zone. And I can tell you, I have severe to the peak of severe anxiety when I am out past like 10 p.m. on a weekday, to where my group of friends is literally looking at me like, what is wrong with her? Why is she so anxious? And so I am trying to stay out a little bit later. And what I'm realizing by doing this is that I am able to remind myself that I can do it all. When I was in Dallas a few weeks ago, I had a bunch of meetings with schools, which is why I was invited to come down and meet with a whole group of schools, and I did that. And while I was there, saw a good friend, longtime friend of mine who works in finance. She's incredibly successful. She parties a lot though. I mean, I love her to death, but she certainly parties a lot. And I don't know if that's a finance, like if I know a lot of people in finance, I feel like it's a similar mentality in finance. Is like the work hard, play hard mentality. But I went there and I was like, I want to see her. And if I end up staying out a little bit late, just go for it and see how this affects you. And let me tell you, those 3 days in Dallas were 3 of the best days of my life. Not only did the W Hotel comp me the literal dopest suite that I enjoyed so much being on my own in, because being alone is amazing, but I even realized more so that it's actually not that bad. Pushing yourself a little bit over your comfortable point is going to only help you in the long run. And it's funny because I do live by this whole fearless mentality, and I do feel fearless all the time, but I certainly have moments where I'm like, I could be more uncomfortable. And for me, being in Dallas, I think it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago now, and being incredibly uncomfortable and testing it out worked out in my benefit because I went out, I networked so much, I met so many people, I was fearless in going up to people at this nice hotel bar we were at, because in the back of my mind I'm thinking all of these people could invest in this app that I'm trying to build. And so fuck it, I'm gonna ask all of you my questions, I am gonna introduce myself, I am gonna have no shame in sitting here past 10 p.m. on a Wednesday, because any of these conversations may come to fruition outside of this setting, and it is so worth it. And I have had some moments, even just being back in Austin, where I've stayed out a bit later. I'm having so much fun with my friends, and like I said, I don't feel like I've ever really had that core group of friends like I have now in Austin. And it has benefited me professionally and emotionally, because it just reminds me again that these standards we all put on ourselves to be so successful and work so much and just hustle all the time, sometimes you have to work a little bit harder to stop doing that and just have fun along the way and enjoy the ride. Maybe you want to make your goals to lose weight or eat healthier or switch job paths, whatever it is, and you want to do it all by January 1st or January 15th, go for it. Like, I'm not here to hold you back or say any of that is bad. I hate when people personally make resolutions to like lose weight, because I'm sitting here thinking like you're all amazing and beautiful and attractive and you don't need to lose any weight. But like, if that is what you want your resolution to be, then I am in full support of it. But what I would want everyone to do is maybe take a bit of what I'm saying about a little bit living more in the moment, but also making just more so some overall lifestyle changes. For me, that is continuing to be uncomfortable, to stop telling everyone my issues or the situation I'm in, because for the most part I can handle it on my own. And the more opinions you get, the worse you're going to feel, the more confused you're going to feel. And just to listen to what your mind is telling you. I've had people ask me like, okay, I am in this situation and I'm really anxious, and what do I do about it? Or like, I've been dealing with this for a while and I don't know what to do. And so I can tell you that based off of you don't know what to do, it's stop doing it. But on top of that, if you are like, you want to get through this and this is going to impact you in the future, when those thoughts come into play, remind yourself, I just have this moment right here, right now. I just have this moment here, right now. And I have tried, like I said, to do that a lot, and that's been helping me, because that is how I'm able to sometimes stay out later on a weekday and not be so anxious about needing to be home thinking it's going to affect the day and the amount of work I do tomorrow. And I kind of just say it over a few times in my head, and then I get back to reality a bit with like, I only have this moment right here, right now. Perhaps you're at a party and you want to leave. You don't want to be there with those people. Don't tell yourself, I only have this moment right here, right now. Get up and be like, this was so fun, thank you so much, but I have to go home. You don't need to lie and say that you don't feel well or that you have a dog at home that you literally don't even have. Just be like, this has been incredible, thank you so much, and I'm going to go home. And if people try and ask you, please stay, be like, no, I'm going home and that's my decision, and I will see you guys all soon. It is so simple to change your mindset in the smallest way that will overall completely shape the way that you pursue your future endeavors and relationships. And so, like I said, I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions, but what I am a big fan of are just daily goals and maybe lifestyle changes that you should do all year long, and you do not need to have a new year to do it. You want to be the best version of yourself all year, all the time. And so listen and be in tune with your feelings, ask questions, get to know people, and even get to know people you don't even really like so you can understand. That is a great thing to journal, is like, I started making a connection with this person and I realized I don't like them because of this and this. So now you can almost like tailor everyone who you put in your life based on the fact that you didn't like hanging out with that person as much. And coming from LA to Austin, all of my friends, I would say at this point, are opposite than the friends I had in LA, because it took me some time, pretty much the whole beginning 6 months of this year, to realize I want to have friends that are opposite than those people, because I didn't have a lot of value hanging out with those people. And that's a dope spot to be at, because now if I'm around someone who reminds me of someone I hung out with in LA that I don't like, I am the first person to be at this party and be like, thank you so much for having me, but I'm going home, bye, and I don't care what you think. Amazing. That's all it has to be. So this is a first episode of January. I'm really excited. I hope you guys love Fearless. It comes out. It will be on Hulu, Localish social media, the Zenny.com website, as well as I think all the local channels that stream Localish, which I'm pretty sure is like all of them, but mostly on Hulu, so you can check it out there. And additionally, I am super excited about this app and can't wait to continue to take you along with it. I've never done something in the tech space before. I've never been so intimidated, and so trying to build it as well as get over the fear of being scared it's gonna fail it's a hard thing right now. Like, I'm having to learn a lot about, again, shifting my mindset to be in the moment, know that this is what I want to embark on right now, and it might make me $1 billion and it might make me $100. And if it doesn't make me $1 billion, I'm just gonna pivot to the next thing out there, because time is not running out for any of you. It is only running out of time that you have to stop doing things you don't want to do and start doing things you do want to do. So have an incredible rest of your week. Get out of your comfort zone. Try the new coffee shop. Pick up the phone and call someone. Ask for what you want and be exceptionally fearless. And I'll see you guys next week for a new episode of The New Unfiltered.